So, good afternoon. Uh, we are now entering our third or fourth session of this Leading Self to Excellence framework. And we are transitioning today from our earlier focus on foundations. So, अगर आपने ध्यान दिया होगा तो जो पहले के सेशंस थे उसमें जो टॉपिक था that was foundations of effectiveness. And today we are entering into the next chapter or the next phase of this program or this curriculum, which is about leading self. What do we mean by leading self? What do we mean by leading self? आपको चुप बैठना है, मैं भी चुप बैठता हूँ फिर. Yeah, that's the way it works. If you don't talk, then I also don't talk. What's the point? हम सारे चुप बैठते हैं, एक दूसरे को देखते हैं. So taking yourself to a desired goal. किसी ने यहाँ पे कहा खुद को चेज करने का मतलब क्या होता है? What does chasing someone mean? To go after someone. Is going after someone leading that person? Or is that person leading us? So going after someone is not leadership. It is only management. That you somehow want to get the work done and then you are following up with people, chasing them to get the work done. You might have experienced that more often than leadership, but that doesn't mean that is leadership. And if you try to become that, then you will only become managers. You will not become leaders, by the way. So leading self is not about chasing yourself towards something, but leading yourself to something. How do you lead someone? In the exercise that Luke had, we asked you to lead a friend across the room. All of you did that exercise? How do you lead someone? By showing them a path, by showing them a vision. And then after that, उसमें तो आप लोग ब्लाइंड बने थे तो शो तो कुछ हो नहीं सकता था. फिर developing trust. Developing trust, then showing them a path, showing them a vision. And then do you also realize you also kind of handheld them? There was a physical contact you ensured कि हाँ भाई, I am with you. कंधे पे हाथ रख, किसी ने otherwise पकड़ा, but you took the other person along with you. Is it not? Were you chasing the other person? What were you doing? You were leading the other person. So leading is never about chasing. But when we say lead self, we are saying we are leading ourselves into something. What could that be? खुद पे trust करना. Okay. So this chapter, this section of this curriculum will be more about how do you lead yourself. Okay. But before we enter there, let's spend just a little bit of time on a recap of what we have done until now. So what all have we done until now? The first thing we established was a habit is at an intersection of knowledge, skill, and desire. And we said that in this particular program, we will talk about all three of them for various habits that we will cover. Then we also spent quite a bit of time on personality versus character ethic. What is the difference between them? What is the difference between personality and character ethic? So Chaitanya कह रहा है what we pretend is our personality. Pretend नहीं Chaitanya. What is visible to others is our personality. That could be pretension or that could be who we are. So pretend is not the right word. Pretend का मतलब मैं acting कर रहा हूँ. तो वहां पे तो बेसिक इथोस ही गड़बड़ हो गया कि मैं कुछ हूं और मैं दिखा कुछ और रहा हूं. Personality is about what the other person is able to see. I may be willing to show that or not show that. Sometimes you're not willing to show something, but you still, other people see that. That is also a part of your personality. Pretending is not personality. Pretending can lead to some personality attributes, but personality is about what others see. Then what is character? Habit which we build. Okay, what is character ethic? ठीक है. Internal moral hierarchy. So moral word has come. Okay. What is character ethic?
Like something we define.
Something we define.
Maybe we or us.
We or others define. That is character ethic. Okay. We talked about the roots of effectiveness. We said that where the personality is the tree that you see, personality is the building that you see, the character is the roots that nourish the tree. It is the foundation that stabilizes that building. Remember? So, when we talk of character ethic, we're not talking just about what other people can see. Yes, what other people can see will depend on what is beneath. अगर roots बहुत strong हैं, other people will see a very flourishing canopy. But if the roots are not strong, then the canopy will not be strong. हल्का सा आंधी चला and the tree will fall. Is it not? So, we looked at the difference between personality ethic and character ethic. The personality ethic focuses on how am I seen. Character ethic focuses on who am I. Do you see the difference? Mm-hmm. So character ethic is about nourishing the roots, ensuring that the roots are strong. The tree will automatically flourish, bear the fruit that it is meant to bear. So character ethic versus personality ethic. Then we looked at transactional versus transformational cycles also. What are they? What is the difference between transactional cycle and transformational cycle?
Different features do and get from it. That's but from transformer we always see what happens. Like they call it technical process being.
So in a transactional cycle, we do something and we get the result out of it. So what we do is our behavior and we get some result out of it. And this do-get cycle feeds into each other. We took the example of tuitions. That बच्चे के मार्क्स अच्छे नहीं आए तो पेरेंट्स got them into a tuition. ट्यूशन के बाद बच्चे ने पढ़ना शुरू कर दिया, मार्क्स अच्छे आ गए. So अगर किसी और सब्जेक्ट में मार्क्स अब अच्छे नहीं आएंगे तो what is the thing that the parents will do? One more tuition. Are you with me? So that is a transactional cycle. And then we talked about see-do-get cycle. What is see-do-get cycle? What do we do in the see-do-get cycle?
Refinement. Plan करते सोचते हैं फिर काम करके थोड़ी बता.
Okay. What do we do in see-do-get cycle?
First we change our conception.
The see-do-get cycle was about what do we see? We talked about the concept of paradigm at that time. What is a paradigm? Our perspective of the world. So, and we talked about paradigm shifts. There was the story that Stephen talked about, and Each one of us related that हाँ हमारे साथ भी जिंदगी में we have experienced paradigm shifts. Have you not? And then we also did that one short exercise, old lady versus young girl, young woman. Within 2 minutes, we could see that it is so difficult to see the other person's point of view. You remember? So the see do get cycle involves the paradigm element in it. And we said that only when we start to see things differently will we behave differently, and then we get different results. If you really want to get different results from life, from whatever you do in life, you have to be willing to change your paradigm. You cannot be नहीं मैं तो ऐसा ही हूं. अगर आप मैं तो ऐसा ही हूं कहोगे, then a paradigm shift is far away. And we said that at the heart of every so paradigm and paradigm shift, and then we said that the heart of every habit there will be a principle. And then we started to discuss about the difference between principles and values. So अभी थोड़ी देर पहले यहाँ पे मॉरल्स की बात हुई थी, वैल्यूज की बात हुई थी जो हम डिफाइन करते हैं, कोई और डिफाइन करता है, और हमने पिछली बार प्रिंसिपल्स की भी बात करी थी. क्या फर्क है इन सब चीजों में? Principles, morals, values. What is the difference between all of them? We've discussed this in the last session.
So value is temporary, may change over life's progress, but principle is same forever.
So values we said were temporary. आज ये कह रहा है कि ये स्टैंडर्ड रखो, कल को दूसरा स्टैंडर्ड कर देगा तो गड़बड़ हो जाएगी. हाँ, values are subjective. They are subjective. They are transient. They may work in one place, they may not work in another place. They may work at one time, they may not work at another time. Whereas principles, on the other hand, are universal laws. And they work, whether you believe in them or whether you understand them or not. We took the example of gravity. That until the time Newton had discovered gravity, explained the law of gravitation, did gravity not exist? It did. It worked exactly the way it works now. People might not have understood it, but it worked. So law of gravitation in those terms is a principle. We looked at the example of what you sow, so shall you reap. And we realized this is also a principle. You also took that example of, okay, what is IPDCP program? And we realized, no, it may survive some parts of the litmus test, but in terms of whether it will work for everyone, it doesn't. Therefore, it is a value. It is the value that you ascribe to it. I may say us sitting together and discussing all this is worth $50,000, $60,000 training that you would get if you go to Stephen Covey for this training. Just this one module, leading self to excellence. But you may say, sir, आके बकवास कर जाते हैं, है ना? So you are not you do not perceive the same thing as I perceive. It means this is a value. That is why, we always say, this is the value of this program. From where we look at it. You may not perceive it. We want you to have a paradigm shift and see it the way we are seeing it. But how you see it is entirely up to you. Can I control that for you? No. So, what we are saying is that if we align ourselves to principles, then the entire universe, in a way, works with us. If we align ourselves to values, then it is a possibility that we are fighting against some principle somewhere. And we are shooting ourselves in our foot. Are you with me? So, what did we do after that? We looked at the difference between efficiency and effectiveness. So, what is efficiency and what is effectiveness?
ability to do something fast.
Efficiency is ability to do something fast, quickly, doing something right. What is effectiveness?
The quality of the work we are doing.
Doing the right thing. See, where efficiency is about doing something right, effectiveness is about doing the right thing. And that's all that we've been discussing through and through, is it not? We've been talking about, when you're talking about products, we are saying you have to build products which the user needs. You can make a very good technological product, but will it sell in the market if the user doesn't need it? No. So the right thing is to understand the user's requirements and then design the product, then develop the product. That is effectiveness. And you will focus through this entire program. You will realize that through this entire program, our focus has been on effectiveness. We started, so this leading self to excellence is one aspect of effectiveness, but you just look at the PDLC also, the way we have been nudging you to think about products. It's not that, okay, I want this product to be done. Who needs this product? Why is this product needed? How will they use this? We want you to ask all these questions so that you do the right thing. And then there is a skill aspect also. आप जाके, you will go and do some soldering in the morning. You will do some things. You need to have those skills. You're going to Professor Richard's class to understand how 3D modeling is done. There is a skill requirement also. So doing things right is also important. Because doing the right thing wrong, it doesn't help. But to know what is the right thing is very, very important. Otherwise, if you're doing the wrong thing right, your effort is anyways going to go waste. Are you with me? Unfortunately, most of our education system focuses on just doing things right. We're not given the discernment or the methods to identify what is the right thing. The leading self to excellence is something to do with that aspect for yourself, on how to lead yourself and then others, because that is very important. As entrepreneurs or as engineers, whoever goes wherever, you will need to know how to lead yourself and how to lead teams at some point of time or another, is it not? And that is where this particular chapter is on leading self, how to lead yourself. The second section, or the third section, in fact, will be on leading others. So we looked at effectiveness and efficiency. And we also looked at production and production capability. What is this production and production capability?
Example there.
कौन सा example था?
So
The hen that laid the golden egg. So what is the production there? The golden eggs, because that is what is valued. And what is production capability? The hen that laid the egg. And we realize that for us, we have to focus on all the dimensions of our life to ensure that our production capability is maintained while we are producing results. In terms of product development, it would mean that we are focusing on software, hardware, design, all the aspects, program management, and leadership, all of them. Because if you focus on only one, then you may get some production, but the production capability will be severely disturbed. Are you with me? So, after that, we looked at what is called as maturity continuum. What do we understand by maturity continuum?
dependence, independence, and then interdependence.
Yes. We said that in every dimension of life. We move from the state of dependence to independence and then to interdependence. If we try to jump from dependence to interdependence, for example, we took the example of cheating in exams. आपको खुद नहीं आता, आप dependent हो, but you're trying to be interdependent, maybe on ChatGPT or on other friends, you will fall. Sooner or later, you will get into trouble. When is the question? But trouble will definitely come. So, what is most important is that in every dimension of life, we talk about private victory before public victory. What does private victory mean? That I am taking this journey from dependence, where I think that I am dependent on you or you have to take care of me, to a place where I say, I can take care of myself. Independence. Only after I am at a stage of I can take care of myself can I think of let us take care of each other. Are you with me?
Yes.
And we also saw that uh, in private victory, we will talk about first three habits. What is the first habit? Be proactive. Second habit,
Begin with the end.
begin with the end in mind. Habit three,
Put first things.
put first things first. These all form a part of private victory, which is what I'm talking as leading self. Leading self from dependence to a state of independence. And then we go to public victory, which talks about the next three habits, which are
Think with.
think win win,
Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
seek first to understand, then to be understood,
Strategize.
synergize. And then we said that the seventh habit, which is sharpen the saw, is what that circles everything else. So we had this seven habits framework that we looked at, where we said that we have to move from dependence to independence to interdependence. And all of that is with the perimeter of sharpen the saw, the circle of sharpen the saw, the wheel of sharpen the saw. Because we took the example of finances. We said that in terms of finances, uh, until now, many of you are dependent. On whom? On your parents. When you start to do a job, you start to become independent. But then when you kind of get married, you say, okay, now we are interdependent. I will take care of the expenses for the home. Let us invest your salary or your income into uh, investment instruments, or let us purchase a home, something like this. So you're becoming interdependent in the terms of finance. But even in this terms of finance, there will come a phase where you will say, okay, uh, we are still dependent on this company that is paying our salaries. Huh? We are still dependent on this company that is paying our salaries. Let me switch over and start my own organization. So you become independent. And then as you become independent, you may need funds, you may need something, and you will enter into an ecosystem where you will get to do, think of interdependence. You will form joint ventures, you will, all those vehicles that we talked about in the strategy diamond. You see? And then the next phase will begin, and the next phase will begin. So in every dimension, ऐसा नहीं है कि आप एक बार interdependent की stage पहुंच गए तो तर गए आप. This is a spiral. It appears like a circle because it's a 2D picture, but it is a spiral. We keep on growing. We keep on growing. Are you with me? That will depend on your business. Sorry?
It's also a type of depending on something.
Yes, yes, yes. So
We just move
let us
from
look at
one
personal life.
state.
जब तक आप छोटे थे आप डिपेंडेंट थे अपने पेरेंट्स पे जस्ट फॉर सर्वाइवल फॉर एवरीथिंग. आज आप इंडिपेंडेंट हो, खुद नहा धो लेते हो. देन यू विल गेट मैरिड, इंटरडिपेंडेंट, स्टार्टिंग अ फैमिली टुगेदर. बट देन जब बच्चे होंगे देन अगेन यू विल बिकम डिपेंडेंट ऑन समवन टू टेक केयर ऑफ योर चिल्ड्रन. देन यू विल बिकम इंडिपेंडेंट, बच्चे थोड़े से बड़े हो गए, देन बच्चे स्कूल जाना शुरू हुए, तो दे आर टेकिंग केयर ऑफ ईच अदर. आप किसी भी डायमेंशन में देख लो, दिस इज अ स्पाइरल. You will, in some parts of the same physical dimension also, you are dependent, independent, and interdependent. Even now, today. At any point of time, there is some part of every dimension which is independent, dependent, or interdependent. Just reflect. So what I am saying is, it is important to realize that this spiral exists, that there is a maturity continuum, so that you don't stagnate. Are you with me? Understanding that this continuum exists prevents you from stagnation. And you can work towards growing along the spiral. Okay? So today we are going to start with habit 1, which is be proactive. Now, let us look at the habit that we are going to start from the lens of the transformational cycle that we need to see. See, already for everything in our life, we are doing something and getting some results. Is it not? So, transactional cycle को देखने का तो point ही नहीं है. Let us look at where do we want to be. If we say that we want to live the habit 1, which is be proactive, then what is it that we are talking about? So first thing that we have to look at is the principle. I am free to choose and I'm responsible for my choices. Do you think this is a principle? I said this is the principle of this habit. Do you think this is a principle? Can you run the litmus test on it? What was the litmus test for a principle? A principle has to be universal, it has to be timeless, it has to be objective, and it should work whether I believe in it or not believe in it. So, is it timeless? Yes, sir. You think this has always been true? Chaitanya is saying no. He's saying no. I'm not free to choose. What part of it do you not agree with? I'm not free to choose, or that you're not responsible for your choices?
Like when we are kids, not free to choose like play at night or anything.
You think you're not free to choose, but actually you are. This is the consequences you don't like. If you actually went out to play at night, the consequence would be you will not get dinner. मम्मी कहेंगी तू तो बाहर था अब तो डिनर गया तेरा. That consequence you don't like, therefore you choose not to go out at night. Are you with me?
But sir, we choose something, it might be wrong, and it intersect with some principles. मतलब हमारी कुछ values जो values लगती हैं वो any और principle के साथ intersect कर सकते हैं. तो इसलिए we are not free to choose and we are not then we have to responsible for our choices.
तो तुम कह रहे हो तुम फ्री टू चूज ही नहीं हो.
Might be wrong.
माइट बी रॉन्ग का मतलब तो क्या है? तो गलती तो कर ही सकता है इंसान. तो अगर ऐसे डर के जियोगे तो जियोगे कैसे? फिर तो मरते ही रहोगे.
So our choices are our choices. They can be wrong, right for us, but they can be wrong for another person. They are not
That I'm not entering into. What I'm saying is, are you free to choose?
Yes.
First step. Are you free to choose?
But not everyone is free. Like prisoners and slaves.
Prisoners and slaves. Okay. So let's talk about prisoners. In the given setting that they are they free to choose their behavior?
Yes. They cannot make every choice like if they want to go.
That is fine. I cannot see. Some choices are not available to me. That doesn't mean I'm choiceless. At every point of time, you have choices, no? Even now, sitting in this class, you have a choice. You have a choice to engage in the class, or you have a choice to not engage in the class. Is it not?
Yes.
If someone of you says, I don't want to be in this class, you can decide to not to be in this class. Okay, there will be a consequence of, see, whatever we do, there is going to be some consequence that will arise out of it. The second part of this statement says, I am responsible for that consequence. See, I do something, the consequence I am responsible for, na?
आई थिंक सर चूज का मतलब ये नहीं है कि वो चीज एग्जीक्यूट हो. इट्स माय बल्कि आप सर प्रेजेंट की बात है, मुझे जाना है, अगर वो तो सोच सकता है ना, वो चूज कर सकता है मुझे बाहर जाना है, बट देयर आर रिस्ट्रिक्शंस के आप बाहर नहीं जा सकते, बट वो तो चूज कर सकता है मुझे जाना है.
वो आपकी चॉइस के कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस की वजह से आपको उस स्टेज पे लाके खड़ा कर रहा है.
कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस तो वैसे के पास नहीं लगता है.
But you are not free from your past actions.
But we are talking about the behavior.
We're talking about at any given point of time. See, at any given point of time, I am where I am. See, can I choose something in the past? No. Can I choose something in the future? No. When can I have any choice? In the present moment. Are you with me? And in the present moment, whatever choices are available to me, it is only there I can make a choice. Are you with me? In that present moment, then, are you free to choose your response? In this present moment, you can do whatever you want to do. You want to stand up and walk out, you can do. Now, there's a consequence associated with it, and you are responsible for that consequence. There is a consequence related to everything that we choose, and we are responsible for it. That is what this principle is talking about. This is one of the most difficult principles to get for people. So if you're struggling with it, it's not a problem. We can deliberate more on it. Because, again, if you choose to stay quiet, you stay with the consequence. But if you clarify this principle for yourself, it will serve you best. मैं पता है सबको ये कहता हूं कि forget about all the 7 habits. You just follow habit 1. You take care of habit 1 and you are actually taken care of. Habit 1 is so powerful a habit, and that is why Stephen put it on the top. The sequence of habits is not by chance, by the way. There is a flow that it happens, and if you take care of habit 1, it takes care of you for life. Therefore, I would want you to reflect on this principle again. Do this litmus test for you yourself. I am free to choose, and I am responsible for the choices I make. Yes, Argun.
But sir, if we started with a good intention, mind, but somehow things lead to a wrong ending that we didn't intend to, that we didn't thought of initially, then what did we consider this?
Are you not responsible for the consequence at that time then? जब भी आपने शुरू करा, आपने कहा मैंने उस समय राइट चॉइस मेक करी जो मुझे राइट लग रही थी, देन कॉन्सिक्वेंस जो था वो आपकी पसंद का नहीं था. जो आपने डिजायर करा था वो था, बट जो आपको फाइनली मिला वो पसंद का नहीं था. आर यू स्टिल रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दैट कॉन्सिक्वेंस? स्टार्ट करना एक बात है, बट लीड करना अलग बात है. आपने हाँ हाँ
सोचा कि हाँ अच्छी इंटेंट के साथ स्टार्ट किया, एंड देन हमारे माइंड में उसका एंडिंग पॉइंट भी सही था, बट ड्यू टू सम अनएक्सपेक्टेड रीजंस उसका एंड पॉइंट अलग.
सरगुन, यहाँ पे ना तुम डिसीजन या चॉइस को बात खाली एट द टाइम यू डिसाइडेड टू वर्क ऑन सम प्रोजेक्ट या डिसाइडेड टू वर्क ऑन सम टॉपिक से रख रहे हो. आई वुड पुट इट डिफरेंटली. See, अगर हम so let's come to a very realistic context of what we are talking about in terms of product development life cycle, proof of concept, minimum viable product. आज सुबह आप यही सब बातें कर रहे थे, है ना? उसके कॉन्टेक्स्ट में एक बार बात करें. So what are we talking about? We are starting to say that, okay, I want to work on this product. Why? Because I want to make that kind of an impact on someone's life. I want to earn money. I want to do this. I want to do that. Whatever. There is some intent I had. I start working on a product. And then we say quickly identify what are the assumptions you have made so that you can evaluate whether those assumptions are valid, they are working or not. And whatever you still have doubt about, put that in a proof of concept. So do you realize that आपने खाली उस प्रोडक्ट के ऊपर काम करने की चॉइस नहीं मेक करी है, आपने उसके assumptions लिस्ट डाउन करने की चॉइस भी मेक करी है, आपने ये चॉइस भी मेक करी है कि when to stop brainstorming on the assumptions, how deep to go within and ask, challenge myself, the assumption that I have, how deep to go to understand whether this assumption is holding true or not. Your challenge every time you're making a choice. Which user to validate this assumption from? Which range of users? How many users? All these are choices. Is it not? Are you able to see this? So, choice एक नहीं होती. हाँ, आपने वहां से शुरू करा, but there were so many other choices that you're making every day.
That's a choice also. We don't know then what consequences can it lead to.
Okay. Do you not realize that if you do not have a broad enough survey in your customer audience, you might miss something? You know the consequence. So what is the choice you have to make? Okay, let me go as broad. If you do not make that choice, you say, हाँ 5 से कर लिया, मेरा sheet भर गया. If you do this exercise as a sheet filling exercise, as something to get a grade, that is a choice you have made. And you might miss out on something. If someone of you says that, okay, कौन जाएगा कस्टमर के पास? अनुज सर को यही तो बताना है, मैंने पूछा. 5 दोस्तों को बोल देता हूं, वो भर देंगे. That's a choice you made. You could have got a survey filled by 5 real customers or from 5 random people, or filled them 5 times yourself from 5 different devices. Are you with me? These are all the choices we are talking about. And it is consequence of some of these choices where your result is not matching the desired outcome. Otherwise, क्या होगा? Because you're making the right choices, जो भी result आ रहा है, जो भी आपको feeling आ रही है, आप pivot करोगे. Oh, the product should be done a little this way. I started with that thought, but now new facts have emerged. Let me pivot my product a little to the left, a little to the right. And then where you will go. Are you with me? If you say, हाँ मैंने पहले वो choice make करी थी, अब तो मैं बस वहीं जाऊंगा. It was a choice I made. No, that's not the point. You are making choice in every moment. Do you realize that? It is not that, हाँ मैंने ये product बना लिया, that is the only choice. Every moment, for example, if one of your team members is not contributing, you still have a choice. The choice could be, I will not work with them. The choice could be, I will try to lead them, inspire them to contribute. The choice could be that I would report them. I would escalate them about them. There are so many choices we have. Each choice has a consequence. Are you with me?
Yes.
So you're going to be able to see that? Choice is not just about starting. Choice is also about walking on the way. Every step that you take, are you doing that with awareness? That is also a choice. Are you with me? So again, I repeat, habit 1 is the most powerful habit. And it is important that you clarify this in as much detail as you want to. I'm ready to spend this entire 1.5 hours not even introducing the habit and just talking about this principle. Because if this principle is established for you, I'm not worried about you in life at all. Really. As a mentor, as someone who is older than you, I'm truly fearless about you कि हाँ अगर तुम्हें ये समझ में आ गया है ना तो तुम जिंदगी अपनी बना ही लोगे. It is that powerful a principle. that your life is in your hands. You may ascribe it to other people. कि अनुज सर ने गलत पढ़ाया, या उसने मुझे मिसलीड करा, या उसने मुझे ये करा, या उसने मुझे वो करा. But realize you always have a choice. You always have a choice. And you are responsible for the consequences. Questions? I see some people are still struggling with this, and it's absolutely fine. This is not an easy principle to understand. Through our life, many of us are like, मेरे parents ने, you must have heard those stories. अरे ये तो ना इसका childhood trauma है जो अब reveal हो रहा है. अरे बाबा, childhood trauma तब था past में. Choices तो वो आज make कर रहा है ना. Okay, वो childhood trauma था, understand. But choices are being made now. Can I choose not to be impacted?
If traumas are big enough, then I think choices are also influenced by.
Can I decide to not have those traumatic incidents influence my choices?
I think they have lived down the mind and they indirectly influence our choice there.
That is where I'm asking you, Sargun. And they may. But if you become aware that this is what is happening with me, I am probably responding because I had this trauma earlier in life. Can you now choose a different response? It will take a lot of courage. It will take a lot of courage, is it not? हम कहते हैं ना, हिंदी में कहावत है, दूध का जला छाछ भी फूक फूक के पीता है. But does that mean छाछ को फूक फूक के पीना है? नहीं ना. हाँ, वो जला था तो छाछ भी फूक फूक के पी रहा है, लेकिन क्या जिंदगी भर पीता रहेगा? When to drop that फूक फूक के पीना is still our choice, is it not? Till how long do we want to hold on to our past pain? That is our choice. We can drop it right now, this moment. Okay, you may not feel it like that, but there are methods through which you can become aware of, okay, this is coming from my past trauma, and you can then choose not to go with that and choose a wiser response. We'll talk about how to do that in the skills part of this habit. We'll talk about it. I will not leave you high and dry like this, ki haan karna hai. But I'm asking you, can you choose a different response from the history? See, आप एक बात बताओ. Why do we cherish people like Ram? Or why do we cherish people like Muhammad? Or people like Guru Nanak Dev Ji? Why do we cherish them?
Because of this greatness.
What was their greatness?
Good in every aspect of life.
Just give me one example, and I will show you where they made the choices, which house of which they are cherished. Let us look at Ram first. This person said something कि भाई तुम जब वनवास जाओगे ये करोगे वो करोगे, and this person comes and says मेरे को माफ कर दो. अरे तुमने माफ की बात क्यों करी? तुम बड़े हो, तुमने जो बोला. And still loving her the same way. Must have been really pained, na? Really pained कि माँ है, माँ ने ऐसा. I used to love her as good or as even more than my birth माँ. Kaushalya was the birth mother and Kaikeyi was the stepmother. And he feels I loved her more than my birth mother. This is what she did to me. Any one of you could have carried a grudge. What did he do? He said, no. You are my mother. How can you ask for forgiveness from me? The question doesn't arise. You are my mother. He hugged her. He really loved her. Is it not? That is why you cherish him. Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Everyone, everywhere was talking about Muslim and Hindu. All those rulers who were coming were trying to convert this, that, everything. What did he say? No, we are the same. So many stories about him challenging Pandits and also Maulvis, Maulanas. So many stories about him. मोहम्मद फॉर द सोसाइटी अपने बेटे को कहा कि हाँ इसकी बलि चढ़ा दो. Could you do that? No. It is because of their greatness, because of their forgiveness. Christ. लोगों ने कहा कि हम इनको मारते हैं जिन्होंने आपको ये कीलें ठोक रहे हैं, ये कर रहे हैं. He said, no, they do not know what they are doing. एक छोटी सी खरोंच लगती है, कितना दर्द होता है हमें. उस बंदे के अंदर कीलें ठोकी जा रही थी, बैक टू बैक, हाथ पे, पैर पे, हर तरफ. Even then he's saying, please forgive them. They know not what they are doing. दर्द नहीं हो रहा था. तुम कह रहे हो पास्ट ट्रॉमा, यहां तो प्रेजेंट ट्रॉमा के बाद सामने कह रहा हूं, इन द फेस ऑफ प्रेजेंट ट्रॉमा these people chose to respond differently. Because they were able to choose their responses, we cherish them. Now, आपको भगवान नहीं बनना है. हम उनको बड़े आराम से हम उनको भगवान की पद्धति दे देते हैं. वो तो भगवान थे, वो अलग थे, हम अलग हैं. No, but they were common people like you and me who chose to do things differently. Who chose a response which was different from what any one of else would have otherwise taken. So how difficult it may appear to be, but there were these people who have demonstrated that you can do it. Okay, it requires mastery over your body, it requires mastery over your mind, and you can develop that mastery over time. But first is, are you willing to do that? First is about your willingness. Or do you want to make all decisions based on some past event? So, my family, for example, comes from that part of India, which is now in Pakistan. Okay? So, when they migrated to India, we lost large number of our family members. कोई ट्रेन में गोली मार दी, कोई कहां गोली मार दी, कोई कहां गोली मार दी. So, obviously, there was a resentment against the entire community. है ना? But then one has to realize that that was a riot. Riot में there is no one person. Riot में just it is everyone taken in a frenzy. And you have to somehow move forward, forgive and forget. You can't just stay, entangled in what happened in the past. You simply can't. Time will heal. You will naturally move. But that may be too late. That may have already crippled your opportunity to success. So do you want to do it consciously? That is the question. Sargun, you had a question.
No, I forgot the question.
But sometimes it's clinical depression that has to be treated with medicines.
Okay, so we are saying that something has happened to the chemistry of your system so again, medicine is one way, there could be other ways. Again, you have a choice.
The person is not really free to choose.
Yeah. मैं कह रहा हूं कि you can always choose to learn how to maintain your internal chemistry. है ना? That choice also exists.
But the person may not even know that he has depression.
अरे पापा, I'm not talking that depression is unreal. I'm not saying people who enter into depression, it is very, very real. They need that medication. What I'm saying is, even before you enter into depression, can you choose that, okay, I will want to configure my chemistry the way I want it? See, depression, what is depression? And whatever that depression is, we are saying that by taking some medication, it can be cured. What is medication? Some chemicals. When those chemicals enter your bloodstream, you start to feel better. So somehow that level of serotonin had gone down and you got depressed. Can you do some practices through which your serotonin level remains high?
So what if the system has completely broken. It's
After it has broken, you may have only this choice, that I have to take medication. But until it is broken, abhi aap sabke liye broken hai. You still have a choice in this moment to learn techniques so that you can maintain your inner chemistry the way you want it. Is it not? Now, if you do not learn, then is that depression because of someone else or because of you?
depression sometimes happens due to trauma. That's not in our control. Like something happened to me, and then that depression followed. So that's not in our control. So how am we responsible for that?
So, what you're saying is, I'm not free to choose how I respond to a situation, and it is forced on me to enter into trauma.
So, like I'm living a normal life, but then something happens to me, like some tragedy, and then I enter into depression. But then I don't have a choice to like not go into depression because that tragedy happened. That's not in my.
So, we'll look into this in one of the facets of this habit itself. In the habit one discussion itself, we will actually look at a story where we will talk about this. Okay, that. So I would say, even if you're not convinced, at least remain open to challenging yourself. Can you do that? Can each one of us do that? Because convincing you is not something that I can do. Any conviction has to come from within. It is based out of your experience, out of your reflection, that you will anyways realize it. What I'm telling you is that if you realize this, you are taken care of. If you struggle against this, then you're fighting against a principle. And you will keep struggling. Life will remain a struggle. Somewhere, sometime, you will definitely struggle. But if you realize that this is a principle, again, it's more of a realization, acknowledgement, and then aligning to it. If you realize that this is a principle, life will be a smooth sail. Again, a principle will always be at work, whether you believe in it or not. That is what I'm telling you. And this is a principle. You may believe whatever you may. Habit one is be proactive. This is the principle that lies at the heart of being proactive. You can be proactive only when you see from this, align with this principle. Habit one is be proactive. And this is the principle of being proactive. Okay? So, I would say we will come back to this. But at least you should remain willing to reevaluate your values and check on this principle over and over again. Is that okay? Is that okay? कोई नहीं भी खड़ा करेगा अब तो हाथ खड़ा करना ही पड़ेगा हाँ? नहीं नहीं. So this is what you're saying. The ineffective paradigm is I am a product of my circumstances. कि मेरे साथ tragedy हुई, therefore मैं depression में चला गया. That is the paradigm. कि तो मेरे साथ हुआ ना. I am a product of my circumstances. Whereas the effective paradigm is I am a product of my choices. Okay? And in this, there is this concept of sucker's choice, where we believe we don't have a choice. But it's called a sucker's choice for a reason, because that's just a made up belief. There is always a choice. Okay? We'll look at it. Okay? And that is where the confidentiality agreement that we had, agreed upon, that whatever we discuss in this room remains in this room. I would request you to, if you are comfortable, come up with stories of your life and let us look at it. Let us reflect on it. And let us be ready to be challenged on them. Is it okay?
Yes.
Is it okay? Because What I want to do is I want to help you realize that there was a choice. So that when such an event, unfortunately or fortunately, happens again, you are able to exercise that choice. Are you with me? So, the behavior that has to happen is pause and respond based on principles. We'll talk about what is pause and respond. And another behavior is to use proactive language. We'll talk about what is proactive language because these are parts of skill. How to do it. And then expand your circle of influence. We'll talk about what is circle of influence. Okay. And become a transition person. So what is a transition person? We'll look into that also. So this habit one is a very heavy habit, very, very heavy habit. And then what are the outcomes? Outcomes are much greater influence than we have presently. You become a creative force in your life. You really start to lead yourself. More self-aware and much, much higher level of initiative. Much, much higher level of initiative, not just higher level. So, for the willingness part of it, do these outcomes inspire you? Do you want to have more influence? Do you want to really be the creative force of your life, or do you want to do you want the circumstances to lead you? What do you want to do? Do you want to be aligned to get those results or no? Because if you're not interested in those results, then what's the point? You may as well leave now because we're going to talk about getting those results for you. Are you interested? Now, you may think it is possible or not is a different thing. Are you interested to be more influential? Are you interested to be the creative force who decides where your life goes than about circumstances deciding that for you? Are you interested in being more self-aware and taking more initiative in life? Are you interested in that? How many of you are interested in either of those four outcomes? So then habit one, let us look into it. Is that okay? So let's first look at the first behavioral aspect. Yes.
What does greater influence makes the previous step?
Okay. What does greater influence mean in previous slide? What do you think, everyone?
So, it is with respect to the public, or we are doing it for ourselves?
What do you think?
Influence on ourselves or the public?
What do you think?
I think first it will be more on us, then we can inspire others if we are inspired by ourselves.
Okay. What about others? What do you understand by the term influence and greater influence then? What do you mean by the term influence? What do you mean by the term influence?
I don't say that I have a greater influence. I have always influence for someone. I think it is different of that. Influence is being perceived. It is not given to others.
We are just saying greater influence. Given या taken की बातें नहीं हो रही. What does influence mean to you? What do you mean by the term influence?
That we are benefited by someone, or we have someone that can benefit others.
Inspired from their success or
So, who do we say is an influencer?
The person someone else accepts which he believes.
Someone who leads you? Someone who leads you into some belief, doing something, whatever, that is what you call as influencer. When you have 10,000 followers on YouTube or 10,000 followers on Instagram, they say you are an influencer. Why? Because 10,000 people, of those 10,000, they have some faith in you, some trust in you. That is why they are following your handle. अगर मैं आप ही की लैंग्वेज में बात करूं तो आप उसको इन्फ्लुएंसर कहते हो ना, जिसको लोग अपने आप अपनी इच्छा से फॉलो करते हैं. फोर्स करके कोई फॉलो करे तो आप उसको इन्फ्लुएंसर कहते हो? नहीं. इन्फ्लुएंसर कौन है? ऐसा इंसान जिसको लोग अपनी इच्छा से फॉलो करना पसंद करते हैं. अब वो आपको इन्फ्लुएंस कर रहा है. So are you getting what I'm saying? No. So you had said that हम इन्फ्लुएंस होते हैं, करते थोड़े ना है. But that influencer is being called an.
जो इन्फ्लुएंस करता है उसको वैसा बनाया जाता है कि हाँ
उसको वैसा बनाया जाता है. इंस्टाग्राम हैंडल को फॉलो करने के लिए किसी ने बनाया, या उसने ऐसा कंटेंट पोस्ट करा कि लोगों ने उसको फॉलो करना शुरू करा? वो खुद बनाना. That person posted the right content that clicked with people, so people started to follow that person. That is why that person became an influencer, na? No, he was labeled an influencer by someone else. That is a different thing. But was he not influencing others when he was at 9,999 followers? He was. So influence is not about a count. Okay, YouTube or Instagram put a count on that number because they had to put some threshold. That was an engineering problem that they had. कि कहां पे जाके किसी को इन्फ्लुएंसर माने. But was the influence, was he not an influencer at 9,999? He was still an influencer. Not recognized by YouTube, fine, but still an influencer. YouTube ने नहीं बनाया उनको influencer. They became an influencer by what they posted. Are you able to see this? So label क्या लगा, हम certificate की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे. We are saying, do you want to have greater influence? What does that mean now to you?
that we are now more aware of our surroundings right now so that we make right choices. And as we make right choices, other people also see us as a better individual so that they can follow.
So do you want to be that? A person who has greater influence?
So is it a good thing or a bad thing to get influenced easily by someone?
Depends which stage of development are you in. If you are in a stage of dependency, you will anyways be influenced by someone else. Anyways, is it not? Because you are dependent. You don't have a view, you will be influenced by what others are saying. And it is right, it's okay. What is now? The choice you have is to validate. Because you do not know. For example, you see some product being promoted by an influencer. Now, you have not heard about that product earlier. It is now the choice is that, okay, this seems like an interesting product. Let me check some customer reviews. Let me see what other people have talked about it. This influencer is saying something, but let me see what others are talking about it. And only after that we make a purchase, let us say. Choice हमारे पास तभी थी, but at least that influencer talking about it led me into exploring something more about it. So that is the contribution of that influencer. अगर मैं उस इन्फ्लुएंसर की बात को सुन के ही जंप करता और उस प्रोडक्ट को खरीद लेता और वो प्रोडक्ट अच्छा ना निकलता, तो क्या वो उस इन्फ्लुएंसर की गलती है?
My choice.
You made a choice to not to investigate.
And sir,
Are you with me?
sir, I have a question that if someone is promoting or marketing, doing the marketing of something, then wouldn't it be a responsibility of that person to market the right product?
Yes, it is their responsibility.
Because we don't see things like these nowadays.
No. That is their choice, na. So if they promote wrong products, they will end up losing followers. See, they are taking a risk. They are taking a risk. That is their choice. That is their choice. That is their choice. Notice करो इस बात को. That is their choice. They are willing to take that risk without verifying the quality of the product. If you purchase the product based on what they said, at some point in time you will say, उसने कहा था, उसने मेरे को mislead करा, I will not follow this person now. They will lose followers.
So in the context of product development, if for example you went to a doctor and they said that yes, we need all these features. This product is really game changing the market. But when we investigate manufacturers who are already manufacturing these types of products, they say that no, this product won't work in the market. This is not feasible enough. So with whom should we get in touch?
Very good question, Sargun. Very, very good question, because at every point of time, you will get a variety of inputs and you have to have the discernment to use those inputs carefully. When you went to the doctors, let us say, those doctors were users. You have to discern and identify or distill out information that you need from the users, from the doctors. What kind of information do you need from the users? That do you want to use this product? Will this feature be important for you? How do you value this? How much more are you ready to pay for this? Blah, 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 blah. Because they are the users. The wider the user base you touch, the more confidence you will have in the findings from the doctors. Now, what kind of information should you pick from the manufacturers? About, okay, what are the challenges in manufacturing this product? Whatever product they are manufacturing, what are the challenges they face? And then see, can you somehow design your product in such a way that those challenges don't come? Look at it like this. अगर स्टीव जॉब्स नोकिया के पास जाके कहता, जो कि मार्केट लीडर था उस समय, कि ऐसा फोन बनाऊं जिसके अंदर बस स्क्रीन हो और कीपैड ना हो, तो कभी भी वो फोन ना बनाता. इनफैक्ट नोकिया के इंटरनल R&D में वैसा फोन था. And Nokia management rejected it. They said, who will use such a phone? People laughed at Nokia because they had rejected the same design that Apple had. Okay? So, ये ध्यान रखो. Someone who is already well established in the market, they only know how the conventional system works. You cannot be sure that they validated their assumptions ever.
But they are also good at business, right?
Yes, they are. Nokia was very good at business. Nokia was very good at business. What happened? Why? Because they did not validate their assumptions. They did not. So what did Steve Jobs say? That users do not know what they need. There was a latent need that Steve Jobs had put his finger on. So we, again, सरगुन ये आसान नहीं है इस सवाल का जवाब. But what I am telling you is that वो manufacturers जितना भी अच्छा कर रहे हो, you cannot be sure that they have placed a finger on the right nerve. If they missed a nerve and you have got that, you still will succeed. Are you getting it? That is why in product development, customer point of view, the way again, customer ना कई बार क्या होगा सरगुन, कहेगा कुछ और चाहेगा कुछ. That is where you have to observe the customer. What are they doing? For example, तुम BP machine पे अगर काम कर रहे हो, just sit, observe. How is this lady measuring the BP? What is taking the most time? Where is the frown coming on her face? Because that frown tells that this is something that she doesn't like to do. You have to observe. She may not even notice it. For her, that is a part of life. That is why she is getting paid. She will never complain about it. But you observe the frown and you ensure that that step is removed somehow. And you have a win. Because she doesn't know what she needs. She has accepted her fate. Are you getting it? So all of you, कैटल के पास जाके देखो, या कहां जाओगे, फार्मर के पास. Just observe where is the frown coming and then remove the reason of that frown. That is where your win is. So you have, देखो, leaders are always ready to be influenced. Because they are ready to be influenced, they influence others. But realize that this ready to be influenced has come after a stage when they have already become influencers. Even जब आप डिपेंडेंट थे तब तो आप एनीवे इन्फ्लुएंस ही होते हो. But you do not get influenced blindly. You पूरा ठोक बजा के check that are the assumptions right. Once you become independent, you will start to influence others. But that doesn't mean that आपका influence होना बंद हो गया. Because then you will have to think of going to interdependence. And interdependence, the basis of interdependence is influencing and getting influenced. Both. Habit 5 हमने कहा seek first to understand कि पहले influence हो, then be understood, then influence. Again, it takes a lot of courage. We'll come to habit 5 when it comes. But influence तो आपको हमेशा आप होते भी हो और होगे भी. इसमें कुछ सही नहीं है, कुछ गलत नहीं है. It is about, are you doing your due diligence with that influence or not? So that you don't get taken for a ride. Are you with me? Okay, so what is happening here? By giving you some new knowledge, by sharing with you some of my life experiences, what am I doing? I am influencing you. But what am I also telling you? That I am telling you this is the principle of the first habit. You may not believe in it yet, but are you at least ready to experiment with this principle in your life? Are you at least ready to challenge your existing values, your existing belief systems to see if this works? Because until you realize that it works, you will not be able to align to it. And that realization is very, very important. I can't give you that. You have to earn it for yourself by experimenting. Are you able to see this? So, we have a little time. Let us look at the first tool of the first habit, which is a tool called pause and respond. So, typically, when a stimuli comes, we could simply react to it. Or, when a stimuli comes, we can just go back and create a space where we choose our response. That is the principle of pause and respond. So जहां पे अभी तुमने कहा कि मेरे साथ कुछ घटा, तो मेरे पास चॉइस कहां है? मैं तो डिप्रेशन में चला गया. That is a reaction. What I'm saying is that we can consciously create that space between a stimuli and our response to it. And in that space lies our freedom to choose. In that space, we become proactive. Let me see if I can show you something. Yeah, हम ऐसा करते हैं. Let us look at one more resource we have, and then there is something that I can share with you. Okay. So what we are saying is that in between a stimuli and our response, we can create a space, and in that space lies our freedom to choose. And how do we create that space? The first element. So, Stephen says that human beings are given 4 gifts that animals do not have. And the first of those gifts is self awareness. That we can become aware about what is happening to us, what is happening with us, what is happening in us. So self awareness कि क्या घट रहा है मेरे साथ, कि मुझे गुस्सा आ रहा है, मुझे दुख हो रहा है. Awareness about our feelings. Awareness about what मेरे को दर्द हो रहा है. Oh, my leg is paining. I'm hurt on the leg. That. ऐसा नहीं है कि कुछ भी awareness नहीं है animals को, but the level of self-awareness that human beings have, that is unprecedented. And that is primarily because of the development of the prefrontal part of the brain. So that is one very key gift that we have. Another gift that we have is that of imagination. That when we have to make a choice, we can imagine a future and then make a choice according to that imagination. We can. Whether we do it or not is a different thing. But once we have created that space between a stimuli and our response to that stimuli, we can now use this another gift, the gift of imagination. See, for animals, as much as we understand, they do not have this gift of imagination. They see things as they are. This is how we understand animals, at least. And imagination is something that is very, again, peculiar to human beings because of prefrontal cortex. Then, that is the part of the brain that doesn't exist in other animals. Okay? Conscience, the sense of what is right and what is not. Again, a gift that comes from prefrontal cortex, the biology. So these are some gifts that human beings have that other animals do not have. And when other animals have the same gifts or demonstrate something linked to it, then we say, oh, they are so intelligent. When dogs show that kind of emotion, we say they are so intelligent, is it not? Dolphins, whales, orangutans, chimpanzees, monkeys, they also show many of these. And why do we call them intelligent? Because they are able to use that part of the brain which is not as developed in them as it is already in human beings. So if we can call dogs as intelligent or chimpanzees as intelligent based on how they use their prefrontal cortex, which may be very limited in their development, then our intelligence also lies in using that part of our brain. And that is the part of the brain that helps us to then use what we call as independent will. Have a desire, have a strength, courage, whatever you call it, to pursue the dream. Independent will. And then, if you bring all of these together, that is where we say you become a transition person. A transition person is someone who uses these 4 gifts to choose a response which is very different from the reaction that could have happened. Okay? So, let us look at wait. Let us try again. Sound.
Melancholy day. On a day like this, maybe we can be excused for feeling gray and melancholy ourselves. We get into a mood, and the whole day seems to go badly. Don't you feel better when the weather outside is great? What if you can carry your own weather within you? What about the social world we live in? Don't you feel better when you're treated better? That's being reactive to what we call the social weather, the social culture. When you carry your weather with you, you can choose to be consistent, regardless of how people treat you. That's what it means to be proactive. Being reactive is the opposite of being proactive, not taking responsibility for our own life. You always see yourself as a victim of the weather, of your moods, of someone who has it in for you. Habit one is based on the principle that your life is the result of your own decisions, not your conditions, not what's happening around you. That's why habit one is so foundational, so basic. Unless you practice habit one, you can never practice the other habits of highly effective people. Years ago, I was doing research in a library in Hawaii. While thumbing through a book, I came across an idea that changed my whole outlook. The author said something like this: between what happens to us, that is the stimulus, and our response is the space. In that space lies our power and our freedom to choose our response. And in those choices lie our growth and our happiness. This insight sunk deep into my heart. Even in the midst of challenging circumstances, we have this exhilarating power to choose how we will respond. For instance, the great Viktor Frankl, a Jewish Austrian psychiatrist imprisoned in the death camps of Nazi Germany during World War II, experienced unbelievable indignities and tortures. He was raised to believe that you were basically a product of your childhood. But while he was in the death camp, he began to observe some very interesting things. Different people reacted differently to the same circumstances. He himself experienced terrible things. Some of his own loved ones were killed. One day they stripped him, put him under lights, and performed experiments upon his body. At the lowest possible point, he discovered what he called the last human freedom. The power to choose your own response to any condition, to anything that happens to you. During his darkest moments, Frankl would visualize himself lecturing to the students in Austria. Following his release, he pictured himself teaching them about the very experiences he was having then. He came to believe that the most basic human capability of all is that between stimulus and response. Man has the freedom to choose. Frankl
the thing that enables survival in the death camps was not necessarily intelligence or survival skills, but a sense of purpose, a contribution yet to be made. This became the basis for his brilliant autobiography, Man's Search for Meaning. It's not what people do to us that hurts us. It's our chosen response to what they do that hurts us. As Gandhi put it, they cannot take away our self-respect if we do not give it to them. We must simply never build our emotional life around the weaknesses of other people. Otherwise, we give them permission to continue to mess up our lives. We give our future away. Several years ago, I was making a presentation on the subject of productivity, and the woman stood up in the middle of my speech and started to give a speech on her own, spontaneously. She was filled with explosive learning and excitement. You could see it in her eyes, her gestures, her body language. And then she sensed the inappropriateness of what she was doing. She sat back down. I could hardly wait until the break to talk to her. What happened to you? I asked. She shared her story. She said, I'm the full-time nurse to an extremely miserable man. He doesn't even acknowledge me, let alone show me any form of appreciation. She went on to explain that this elderly man, entrusted to her care, was absolutely miserable and took his misery out on her. She was becoming more and more depressed and hated the thought of going to work each day and facing this irritable man. All the other nurses felt the same way. They talked even of his demise, wished for it, hoped for it, while they were taking care of it. Then she said something to me. For you to stand up there and suggest that I am choosing to be miserable, it's almost too much. But then, listening to you, I suddenly realized that I do choose to be miserable. Before, I believed I didn't choose it. He made me. But then I realized how dependent I am. I've given my power over myself to him and his miserable behavior. As I thought about what you were saying, she said, I realized I have the power to choose. It felt like I had been let out of prison. That's why I stood up. I could not contain myself. I just can't tell you what that means. This feeling of freedom is almost overwhelming. We have the power and the freedom to choose, to create our own weather each day. As Paul and J. Sheen once said, each of us makes his own weather, determines the color of the skies in the emotional universe which he inhabits.
So, any thoughts on this video now? We've discussed some parts of it already, in the sense that we didn't answer those questions yet. So we can pick up from there. But
So every day we make a choice.
every day we make a choice. Every day, every moment.
Every day we decide our life.
Okay. But there was this thought about कि मेरे साथ ये हुआ, मैं depression में चला गया, मेरे पास choice नहीं था. Is there a rethink on that now?
I think that we can choose how we respond to our circumstances. But we can't control those circumstances.
Yes. We can't control the circumstances. So we'll come to that aspect also. There's this another tool that we talked about, circle of influence. So we'll talk about that aspect also. But do you realize that there is a choice we always have? In this last story that he shared, this woman, this nurse, if you were in such a situation, what would you feel? Exactly like her? oh, he's making my job miserable. My life is misery because of this particular person. And it is a pity. Those nurses were starting to think, yaar, mari jaye aise acha to. They were taking care of this person, but thinking of his demise, wishing for it. So she had such guilt in her mind कि यार मैं क्या कर रही हूँ, मैं उसका केयर टेकर हूँ, मैं उसकी टेक केयर, मतलब आई एम देयर टू टेक केयर ऑफ हिम, एंड समवेयर इन मी दिस थॉट इज क्रॉसिंग माई माइंड दैट मरी जाए इससे अच्छा तो, इज इट नॉट? उसके अंदर वो गिल्ट भी था. एंड देन एट वंस व्हेन शी रियलाइज्ड दैट शी स्टिल हैज अ चॉइस, ही इज डूइंग व्हाट ही फील्स इज राइट. This person is doing what that person is feeling as right. She had a choice. Are you able to see this? Even in the end, what happened? She said, बेचारा हर समय he is in misery. बेचारा एक बंद कमरे में पड़ा रहता है. Let me take him out. बाहर जाएगा, मन खुश होगा, शायद कम miserable होगा तो हमारी लाइफ कम miserable करेगा. That must have been the thought. बाहर लेके गई, उसको फूल दिया, उसने वो फूल वापस फेंका. What did you feel? Was this working for her or not working for her? How many of you think it was working for her?
Of what? Of making him, of taking him out or giving him flowers?
Taking him out and treating him nicely was working. How many of you think it was working? Because he threw the flowers back. How many of you think it was not working? Thinking capacity सबके पास है ना. There are people who not raise their hand either time.
It might work eventually, not at the first
जब उसने
attempt.
जब उसने फ्लावर्स वापस फेंके तो वो वर्क कर रहा था कि नहीं कर रहा था? Okay. Why do you think it was not working?
Sir, the purpose was not to make him do things that so that she feels less miserable. The motive was that she becomes more happy even in that misery.
The purpose was that she becomes happier even in that misery. So it was working or no?
Yes.
For her it was working. Okay.
But she still feels like because of this action, she still feels bad.
Was she feeling bad? जब उसने फ्लावर्स वापस फेंके तो उसने क्या करा?
Look at and just sat on the bench.
She was sitting on a bench. She went and sat on a bench, and this guy threw the flowers back at her. What did she do?
She kept it with her. She kept it with
She kept it with her. Not just keep it with her. She smelled the flowers. She said thank you, and then kept the flowers with her.
It's like, man, life gives you never meet very well.
No, see again. Look at it like this. Somewhere in your mind, you're coming with an assumption that he was throwing the flowers back at her.
paradox.
What if I tell you that he was so grateful that he said, "I want to give these flowers to you. I can't go out and get flowers for you. I have these. I'm giving these to you." Now, he was on a wheelchair. What could he have done? He could have only thrown the flowers. You were not hearing any audio of that conversation, were you? You made an assumption. You made a choice. Think about it. Whatever we see around us, whatever we perceive around us is also a choice. And we always have a choice to choose what we want to see.
But sir, in that moment, it is easy to feel bad.
Why? If you are saying thank you and throwing the flowers to her, thank you for treating me so nicely. Now, the flowers did not land on her, so she picked them and she smelled them and said thank you.
But if he wanted to do this, he could have done it earlier.
Earlier कब?
Earlier, जब वो बुलाता था, अगर वो
But
बार बार
everyone was treating him like a potato in the room, putting injections into them, feeding them food, not taking them out, not even treating them like a human as if they have emotions. So how will he do that? Again, दूसरा बंदा क्या कर रहा है, क्या नहीं कर रहा है, can you control that? What can you control? You can only control what you do. So let me relate a story to you. शिव और पार्वती जी की शादी थी. तो शादी में तो बहुत सारा तामझाम होता है, मेहंदी भी लगती है, हल्दी भी लगती है, बहुत बहुत सारी चीजें होती हैं। तो वहां पे मेहंदी की रस्म शुरू होनी थी, एंड पार्वती जी वॉज नॉट टू बी फाउंड नोवेयर। तो अब पार्वती जी की जो मदर है, शी वॉज रनिंग हेल्टर स्केल्टर, पूरा अपना महल में ढूंढ रही हैं, इधर उधर इधर उधर। तो क्या देखती हैं, एक बालकनी में जाती हैं तो देखती हैं कि वो नीचे कहीं एक छोटा सा पॉन्ड है उनके, उसमें उधर बैठी हैं और हाथ बिल्कुल खून खून है। घबरा जाती हैं, शी स्केयर्ड, शी रशेस टू दैट प्लेस, and now what she sees is that she is trying to pull out a crab, ठीक है, crab नहीं, scorpion, a बिच्छू from water. क्रैब तो पानी में रह लेता है, बिच्छू नहीं रह सकता। तो पानी में गिर गया था और वो उसको बाहर निकाल रही थी। जो ही वो उसको पकड़ती, बिच्छू उनको डंक मारता, इतनी जोर की दर्द होता कि बिच्छू छूट जाता। But she was continuously trying to help it out and put it on dry ground. By the time the mother reached, she just did that. And the mother was furious. तेरी मेहंदी की रस्म शुरू होने वाली है. We want to, put mehendi on your hands, and now your hand is bleeding. What do we do? मर जाने देती उसको. तू उसका भला कर रही थी, but see what it has done to you. You know what she said? For this scorpion, it was a matter of life and death. Is it not? It would die if it remains in water. But in spite of that, it did not lose or it did not change its character. What is the character of a Scorpio? To sting, to bite. That is its character. So if that Scorpio, which has no free will, does not leave its character, that Scorpio, which is so lowly as we see it as an organism, does not change its behavior, its character, I as a human being, why do I change myself? Now, it is not to be taken as being rigid. What she was saying was, I value compassion. I value that I should help another being if I can. And I can. मेरे को चोट लगी, but I can. And I did. See, it is safe now. It was hurting. It was paining. But I choose to still help. Because that is what I am. How the other person is, that should not influence me to become like them. Are you able to see this?
Sometimes try help to protect someone, and their behavior just hurt us, and still we really used to help them, but they continuously keep on hurting, and we get hurt because of it. But we neglect their feeling, and after some time we get frustrated, like why we are here.
So now, if after that you say, okay, I will not take care of this person, but I will not take care of anyone because that is how people are. Is that a good conclusion from that? That is what I'm saying. So I'm not saying कि आप पार्वती की जगह तरह जाके अपना हाथ वाथ सब कुछ वो कर लो. What I'm saying is you can still choose your behavior, and depending on what kind of how do I put it? Depending on what kind of bandwidth you have, you may say that, okay, I'm still loving, I'm still caring for everyone, even for that person. But now with that person, because of the past experiences, there are some boundaries. I will still love them, but with this boundary. That boundary is also a choice you make. And because you are aware of making that boundary, only for that specific case, you're still loving and caring for everyone else. You're not bitter for life. But do you also realize that some people turn bitter for life? That is their choice. Now, look at the experience of life for those who have turned bitter versus those who remained loving. Whose experience of life is more joyful? Those who remained loving. Now, the person who turned bitter, what will that person say? मैं उसकी वजह से bitter हुआ. But is that really the case? No. They could have chosen a different response. Are you with me? So we will continue with this habit one. Habit one is a long habit. We'll spend more time on habit one in the next sessions. But till that time, I would really want you to reflect on what we discussed. The principle of habit one, the concept of pause and respond, creating that space between a stimuli and our response to that stimuli. Okay? And to create that space is not easy. But there are ways to learn how to create that space. And if you're interested, so I will not talk about that too much over here, because otherwise you will say he's sermonizing. But we can still discuss on what has worked for me, because that's my personal experience. Because Stephen does not talk about how to create the space, I don't want to enter into that zone with all of you. But if any one of you wishes to, is struggling or wishes to discuss that aspect, I can at least share my experience with you. That I'm open to. Okay. But in this program, we will not discuss about how to create the space. That's a completely different game. But what is important to realize is that we can create the space. And if you are already able to create that space, it is easy, good. If you're struggling with it, but you are able to do it many times, again, it's just a matter of practice. If you're not able to see this, that is when you may need help. And again, as I said, if you are willing, if you are interested, I can share with you what worked for me or what works for me. Okay? And we will look at the transition person aspect next time. We'll review all these aspects again next time, because they are very, very important. And I would really want that each one of you, any other habit you live or not live, at least habit one you should live. Because if you live habit one, I don't need to worry about you at all. I know that you will make something beautiful out of your lives. Because then you would realize that you are an outcome of your choices. Then choices you will make. That much I can trust you. But first thing is to realize that we are a product of our choices. Okay? Yes. All the best.